by far the largest feature we've ever implemented into World of Warcraft, by a mile. Almost every single part of the team has touched this feature in some way. But I think the biggest key of what we've learned is that as we've gone deeper and deeper into the feature, the most important part of the feature is that players are making meaningful choices. I think we've always had a lot of variety in the feature from the beginning, a lot of different buildings, a lot of different plots, lots of different things to do. But what we found over time is that, no matter what you did, it wasn't really making things feel different. So we really doubled down our efforts on integrating gameplay into all of the buildings to make them feel unique and individual and different. And that over time, that's really going to pay dividends because people can change those buildings and continue to change their gameplay style as they play WoW. The core concept behind the stable is that it interacts with mounts. So when you buy the stable, the first thing you unlock the ability to do is to hunt mounts down in the world and train them and turn them into mounts for you to ride. At level 2, you unlock the ability to interact with objects while you're on a mount without having to get off of it. A great example of this would be a miner can now mine a deposit without having to get off their mount and then call their mount back. And thirdly, we increase your mount speed on the ground in Draenor by 20%. And that's actually a really powerful buff since we are not allowing flying in Warlords of Draenor. That's really the only way that you're going to be able to move around faster on the ground. So we think that'll be a really popular feature. In addition, there's one other thing is that the stables let you display your mounts. So it's actually going to let you pick some of the favorite mounts that are in your mount list, and they will actually spawn in your garrison, in your stable. So if other people come to your garrison, they'd be able to see your most fabulous mounts that you have. We definitely have thought early on about how we would want to expand the feature. We have thoughts of possibly doing a tier 4 where we would add more plots and make the garrison bigger. We also have options of where we could add more buildings, brand new buildings with new gameplay types. We've definitely talked about both of those things, but it all just comes down to how things play out once the game launches. We will watch very closely, and then we'll see what we want to do as we get into the patch period. But I would say we're really happy with the amount of content that we have for launch. It's something that we thought about early on, and that's why we really developed the majority of the gameplay to not be actually, there's some things that you do in your garrison, but many of the buildings direct you outside of the garrison out into the world. So when you build the stables, the mounts that you can collect, you have to go out into the zones to get them. The barracks, for example, gives you a bodyguard. You want to use that bodyguard out in the zones when you're doing questing. That's where he's really powerful. So although there are some features in the garrison that are cool that you're going to want to log in, you're going to want to do, we don't really see people spending a ton of time in the garrison. It's going to be more of a check-in. You're going to come in, pick up your work orders, maybe grab a few quests, and then you're going to head out into the world. I think we totally could see more of that customization. We really picked the ones we thought were the most impactful for launch because we were prioritizing, and we still are prioritizing the core gameplay above the customization. We want some customization, clearly, but we don't think that's the primary focus of the garrison. So it's definitely a great place that we can add on in the patches moving forward. The AI is something we actually spent a lot of time on. The core behind what really makes this AI new is that it's completely randomized. So essentially, our NPCs have a brain, and we're able to give those brains needs. You can create a blacksmith in the garrison and give him a need to have to mine ore. And then what that guy is going to do is he's essentially going to look for mining nodes anywhere in the garrison, try to walk over to him and mine him. But along the way, he might get hungry. He might get tired, he might get attacked, and he has responses for all those things. And when you apply that to like 100 NPCs across the garrison, you get a completely realistic, new-looking space, something that feels very random. And that's what we wanted, since players are going to be able to place their own followers in the garrison. Each of them will behave differently. Now, that technology only works in the garrison today, but it's definitely technology that we see that we will spread out to the rest of the world in future expansion. We've talked a lot about guild stuff. Guild stuff is something that we definitely want to get back to. I think we were very happy with the way that the guild advancement system worked in Cataclysm, but over time, I think it became a burden to players because it felt required. It made it difficult to get in new guilds, and that's why you see us making the changes that we've made here, of pulling the concept of the levels, leaving a lot of the perks. So we try to keep the things that we like and get rid of the things that feel like baggage these days. That doesn't mean that I think we're happy with that. Moving forward, we definitely want to figure out more ways to create guild-specific gameplay for our players.